Hey guys, tonight we're going to talk about a job that, honestly, would make your worst summer gig flipping burgers look like a spa day. We're heading back, way back, to the bustling, grimy streets of ancient Rome, specifically to the workshops where the magic of glass blowing happened. Forget fancy art galleries and air-conditioned studios. This was a hot, lung-destroying, often brutal profession. If you think your workplace has bad ventilation, just wait until you spend a day next to a Roman glass furnace. You probably wouldn't last a week without a permanent cough and a serious aversion to anything over 80 degrees. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And seriously, if you're listening to this, drop your location and what time it is for you in the comments below. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You are born into a world of bustling markets, narrow, crowded streets, and the constant hum of human activity. Imagine growing up in a place like, say, the old industrial neighborhoods of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but instead of steel mills, the air is thick with the scent of wood smoke, sweat, and a peculiar, slightly acrid tang that you'll come to know intimately, the smell of molten glass. You live in a cramped, multi-story insula, a Roman apartment building, its upper floors swaying precariously, its lower levels teeming with workshops and taverns. This is Rome, and your childhood, from its earliest moments, is infused with the rhythms of labor. Your earliest memories are often of the workshop. It's not your playground, it's your reality. Your father, a glassblower himself, a man whose hands are scarred and calloused, whose face is perpetually grimed with ash, spends his days tending the fiery heart of the furnace. You see him, his face bathed in the orange glow, muscles straining as he manipulates the molten glass at the end of a long iron blowpipe. The heat radiating from the furnace is immense, even from a distance, a roaring beast that consumes charcoal and spits out dazzling light. You are not sent to school, not in any sense we understand today. Your education begins in the workshop, not with scrolls or philosophical debates, but with observation, with imitation, with chores. From the moment you can walk, you are given small tasks, sweeping ash from the floor, fetching water for the thirsty workers, sorting shards of discarded glass. Your tiny hands learn the textures of the raw materials, the grainy sand, the smooth natron, the chunks of recycled glass. The air you breathe is always heavy with fine dust, a mix of ash and silica, clinging to your clothes, seeping into your lungs. Your father doesn't speak in grand pronouncements about your future. It's simply understood. You are his son, and you will follow in his footsteps. This isn't a choice. It's a destiny. The glass-blowing trade, while providing a living, is not a path to glory or wealth. It's a craft, a skill passed down from father to son, often for generations. The idea of choosing a different path is as alien as flying to the moon. The workshop itself is a chaotic, dangerous place. The roaring furnace dominates everything, its heat a constant, oppressive presence. Sparks fly, molten glass drips, and the ever-present danger of burns, cuts, and shattering glass lurks in every corner. You learn to move cautiously, to anticipate the movements of the seasoned glass blowers, to avoid the searing heat of the glory hole where finished pieces are reheated. You are constantly on edge, your senses heightened to the myriad dangers of the environment. Your childhood games are often improvisational, played with scraps and remnants from the workshop. You might pretend to blow glass with a stick, mimicking your father's movements, your young lungs puffing futilely. You might arrange discarded glass shards into patterns, marveling at their colors, their translucence. These are not games of imagination in the traditional sense, but reflections of the world that surrounds you, the only world you know. A popular historical fact you quickly internalize is that Roman glassblowing was a relatively new invention, having only truly taken off in the 1st century CE. Before this, glass was often shaped by core forming or casting, making it a luxury item. The invention of the blowpipe revolutionized the industry, making glass cheaper and more accessible, but also turning glassblowing into a demanding, specialized, and often dangerous profession. You are part of a booming industry, but you are at its grinding, miserable heart. The heat is the defining characteristic of your existence. Even in the cooler months, the workshop is a stifling inferno. In summer, it's an unbearable hell. Sweat constantly drips down your face, stinging your eyes, soaking your coarse tunic. You learn to crave water, to gulp it down whenever you can get it, to endure the oppressive warmth that saps your energy and makes every breath feel heavy. This constant exposure to extreme heat, day in and day out, becomes a fundamental part of your physical reality. Your father, like all glassblowers, suffers from a persistent cough. It's a dry, hacking sound that rattles in his chest, a constant reminder of the fine dust he inhales daily. You start to notice it in yourself too, a tickle in your throat, a small cough that lingers. This unique detail of ancient glassblowers suffering from silicosis or similar lung diseases due to inhaling silica dust from the raw materials and ash from the furnaces is a grim reality that often went unacknowledged or misunderstood in ancient times. It's like working in a permanent dust storm, but the dust slowly kills you. Historians still debate the specific prevalence and severity of respiratory illnesses among ancient glassworkers due to limited medical records and diagnostic capabilities. Your early training is less about formal instruction and more about osmosis. You learn by watching, by mimicking, by being an extra pair of hands. You are taught how to prepare the clay crucibles that hold the molten glass, how to stoke the furnace fires, how to grind the raw materials, the sand from the beaches, the natron from Egypt, the crushed shells that provide flux. These tasks are repetitive, laborious, and often dirty, further immersing you in the grimy reality of the trade. The danger is constant. You witness accidents, a molten glob of glass dripping onto a worker's arm, leaving a searing burn, a finished piece shattering in a worker's hand, sending razor-sharp shards flying. The risk of fire, of the furnace malfunctioning, is ever present. You learn a healthy respect for the molten material, for its blinding heat and its unforgiving nature. This constant exposure to danger from a young age hardens you, making you quick-thinking and cautious, but also instilling a deep, underlying anxiety. Your sleep is often restless, haunted by the roaring of the furnace, the flickering light of molten glass, and the constant dry cough that plagues your own chest. Even in your dreams, the heat seems to linger, a phantom sensation that never truly dissipates. You wake tired, often before dawn, ready to face another day in the stifling, dangerous workshop. Your social circle is limited to the other children of glassblowers or the children of other artisans in your crowded insula. You play in the narrow streets, under the watchful eyes of your parents and the constant supervision of the adults. Your conversations revolve around the rhythms of your parents' trades, the fluctuating prices of raw materials, the demands of powerful patrons. Your world is small, confined by the demands of your craft. As you near the age of 7 or 8, the informal training becomes more direct. Your father places a small, cold, iron blowpipe in your hands. It's heavy, surprisingly long, and utterly foreign. He guides your tiny fingers, teaching you the basic grip, the stance. You are told to blow, to push air through the pipe, to feel the subtle resistance. Your young lungs are too weak. your breath too shallow, and you sputter and cough, the effort leaving you breathless. But your father is patient, relentless. He knows this is your future, and he must prepare you. This is the beginning of your apprenticeship. You are no longer just an extra pair of hands. You are a future glassblower. The terrible reality of being a glassblower in ancient Rome begins to truly settle in. You are not just learning a trade. You are inheriting a life of relentless heat, constant danger, and the slow, inevitable decay of your own body, all for the fleeting beauty of glass. And you know, with chilling certainty, that this miserable existence is only just beginning. The roaring furnace, a hungry beast of fire and light, becomes the new sun by which your young life revolves. You are no longer just an observer in the workshop. You are an apprentice glassblower, a tiny cog in the fiery, dust-filled machinery of ancient Rome's thriving glass industry. The initial wonder of seeing molten glass shaped into delicate forms quickly fades, replaced by the harsh reality of long hours, relentless heat, and the unforgiving hand of your master. Your apprenticeship begins in earnest around the age of 8 or 9. Your father, himself a seasoned glassblower whose body bears the scars of the trade, hands you over to a master craftsman. This isn't a gentle introduction. Your master, a man named Lucius, is a figure of imposing presence, his face perpetually grimed with ash, his eyes red-rimmed from the furnace's glare. He is known throughout the Vicus Vitrarius, the glass-making quarter, for his skill, but also for his unforgiving nature and his quick temper. He doesn't believe in coddling. Your initial tasks are grueling and monotonous, designed to test your endurance and instill absolute obedience. You spend hours tending the fires, constantly shoveling charcoal into the furnace, ensuring its temperature remains constant. The heat is oppressive, even in the depths of winter. Sweat streams down your face, stinging your eyes, soaking your coarse woolen tunic. Your muscles ache from the repetitive motions. Your hands blister from the rough charcoal. This isn't just a chore. It's a constant battle against physical exhaustion, a test of your willingness to suffer for the craft. You also spend endless hours grinding the raw materials, silica sand, natron, a soda ash from Egypt used as a flux, and various mineral oxides for coloring. The grinding stones are heavy, your small arms ache, and the air is thick with fine, irritating dust. This dust, a mixture of silica and ash, coats your clothes, gets into your hair, and most alarmingly, seeps into your lungs. You develop a persistent cough, a dry, hacking sound that rattles in your chest, mimicking the cough of your father and all the older glass blowers. This popular historical fact of ancient glass blowers suffering from severe respiratory problems like silicosis or chronic bronchitis due to inhaling airborne silica dust and combustion byproducts is a grim reality of the trade. It was a slow, invisible killer, often without a clear understanding of its cause in ancient times. Lucius, your master, is a demanding, unforgiving instructor. He observes your every move with hawk-like precision, his eyes missing nothing. A moment of inattention, a slight hesitation, a misplaced tool. Any infraction is met with a sharp cuff to the ear, a stinging rap across the knuckles with a wooden stick, or a harsh, guttural reprimand. There is no gentle correction, no encouraging words, only the constant threat of pain and humiliation, designed to instill absolute discipline and perfect precision. The anxiety of incurring his wrath, of making a mistake that could ruin a precious batch of molten glass, is a constant, gnawing presence. You learn the properties of glass through endless observation and repetition. You watch Lucius manipulate the glowing, molten gather at the end of his iron blowpipe, shaping it with astonishing dexterity. You see how it responds to heat, to cold, to the subtle pressure of his breath. You learn the precise temperature at which it becomes pliable, the exact moment it stiffens, the delicate balance between liquid and solid. This is not taught in books. It is a skill passed down through generations, etched into the hands and instincts of the craftsman. Your first attempts at blowing glass are frustratingly clumsy. Lucius hands you a smaller, lighter blowpipe, a manageable length for your young arms. You take a small gather of molten glass from the furnace, its heat radiating intensely through the iron pipe, threatening to burn your lips. You attempt to blow, to inflate the viscous glob into a bubble, but your breath is uneven, too weak, or too strong. The glass either collapses into a formless blob, or bursts with a fragile pop, scattering razor-sharp shards. Each failure is met with a sharp critique, a dismissive gesture, a reminder of your inadequacy. The anxiety of these failures, of wasting precious, expensive material, is a constant pressure. You learn the importance of precise timing. Molten glass is incredibly fickle. It cools rapidly, stiffening and becoming unworkable in a matter of seconds. You must move with speed, with fluidity, constantly reheating the piece in the glory hole, a secondary opening in the furnace that provides intense heat for shaping. You learn to anticipate the glass's every nuance, to feel its subtle resistance, to manipulate it with grace and efficiency. It's a delicate dance with fire, demanding absolute focus and unwavering concentration. One unique detail you are taught is the importance of recycling glass shards. In ancient Rome, glass was a valuable commodity, and broken pieces, known as cullet, were meticulously collected and melted down to be reused. This wasn't just about economy. It was a fundamental part of the glass blowing process. You spend hours sorting through piles of broken glass, separating colors, removing impurities. You learn to recognize the subtle differences in the quality of the cullet, knowing that inferior shards can compromise an entire batch of new glass. This meticulous attention to seemingly mundane details highlights the resourcefulness and sustainability inherent in ancient industries, born out of necessity rather than modern environmental concerns. It's like being a trash sorter, but the trash is priceless and determines your daily bread. Historians still debate the precise economic impact of cullet recycling on the Roman glass industry and its overall efficiency. Your diet is basic, often meager. You eat coarse bread, a few olives, perhaps some watered-down wine. Meat is a rare luxury. The constant heat of the workshop saps your appetite, yet your body craves nourishment for the grueling physical labor. You learn to endure hunger, to push past the fatigue, to find a grim satisfaction in simply completing your tasks. The hazards of the trade are ever present. You witness accidents frequently. A fellow apprentice, distracted for a moment, touches a glowing piece of glass and screams as it sears his skin, leaving a permanent scar. A long blowpipe, heated to a terrifying temperature, accidentally brushes against a worker's arm. Splinters of glass, sharp as daggers, embed themselves in hands and feet from dropped pieces. You learn to move with extreme caution, your senses always heightened, always anticipating the next potential danger. The sight of these injuries, the raw pain, instills a deep, underlying anxiety that never truly dissipates. Your social life is almost non-existent. Your days are spent entirely in the workshop, your evenings in the cramped insula. Your only companions are the other apprentices, grim-faced and exhausted, and the seasoned glassblowers, often taciturn and absorbed in their own grueling work. There is little time for play, little opportunity for leisure. Your world is confined to the roaring furnace and the relentless demands of your master. Lucius occasionally allows you to observe him working on a particularly intricate piece, a delicate goblet for a patrician, a beautiful flask for scented oils, or a vibrant mosaic tile. In these moments, you see a flicker of artistry, a true mastery of the craft that transcends the brute labor. He manipulates the molten glass with astonishing grace, coaxing it into complex forms, adding threads of color with expert precision. It's in these rare moments that you glimpse the magic of glass blowing, the potential for true beauty, and it fuels a fragile hope that one day you too might achieve such mastery. But these moments are fleeting. Most of your time is spent in drudgery, in repetitive tasks designed to build your strength, your endurance, and your absolute obedience. You learn patience, the kind of patience that comes from hours of stoking a fire, of grinding sand, of waiting for the molten glass to reach its perfect temperature. You learn persistence, the kind that comes from countless failed attempts at blowing, from endless repetitions of the same movements. As the years of your apprenticeship stretch on, your body begins to change. Your arms grow stronger, your lungs expand, your hands become calloused and nimble. You are no longer the weak, small child. You are becoming a glass blower, not just in skill, but in every fiber of your being. The heat, the dust, the noise, the danger, they have become your normal. The terrible reality of being a glass blower in ancient Rome is that it transforms you, physically and mentally, into a creature of the furnace, forever marked by its fiery embrace. And you know that this grueling transformation is far from complete. The roaring furnace is no longer just a backdrop to your miserable existence. It is the very heart of your world, a tyrannical sun that dictates every breath, every movement. You are deeper into your apprenticeship now, your hands more accustomed to the heat, your muscles more attuned to the delicate dance of shaping molten glass. But with growing skill comes growing responsibility, and the relentless, suffocating embrace of the furnace's fiery heat becomes a daily, inescapable torture. You spend most of your waking hours within feet of the primary furnace, its monstrous maw glowing with an incandescent, blinding light. The temperature in the workshop is perpetually oppressive, rarely dropping below 100 degrees Fahrenheit, even on the coldest Roman winter day. In summer, it's an absolute hell, easily soaring past 120 degrees. Sweat streams down your body constantly, soaking your thin tunic within minutes, clinging to your hair and eyelashes. Your skin is perpetually parched, your lips cracked, and your eyes burn from the dry, superheated air. This isn't just discomfort, it's a constant, low-grade fever that never breaks. Your master, Lucius, demands absolute precision and unwavering focus. He watches you with eagle eyes as you perform increasingly complex tasks. You learn to gather the molten glass, a glowing, viscous blob at the end of the iron blowpipe with expert dexterity, ensuring just the right amount is captured, neither too much nor too little. You learn the precise timing for re-entering the glory hole, the secondary opening where pieces are reheated to maintain the glass's malleability. A fraction of a second too long, and it droops, too short, and it stiffens, making it impossible to work. The pressure to get it right every single time is immense, for any mistake means wasted material and a swift, painful reprimand. The physical toll is immense. Your lungs constantly ache from the hot, dusty air, each breath feeling heavy and shallow. Your eyes are perpetually strained, red-rimmed from the glare of the furnace and the intense focus required. Your hands, though now nimble, bear a myriad of small burns and cuts, constant reminders of the molten material you handle daily. The anxiety of a serious burn, of a splash of incandescent glass scarring you permanently, or even blinding you, is a constant underlying fear, a chilling reality that every glass blower lives with. One popular historical fact you quickly internalize is that Roman glass-blowing workshops were often located in cramped, poorly ventilated spaces. There were no powerful fans, no exhaust systems, just open doorways and perhaps a few small vents. This meant the heat, smoke, and dust from the furnace, along with the particulate matter from the raw materials, lingered in the air, creating an incredibly unhealthy environment. You are essentially working in a constant, lung-choking haze, breathing in what amounts to fine glass shards and ash with every inhale. Your diet, already meager, seems to offer little relief from the heat. You consume coarse bread, olives, and perhaps some weak, watered wine, which quickly evaporates in your system. Water is your most coveted commodity, and you gulp it down whenever possible, but it feels like pouring water onto a raging fire, never enough to truly quench the internal blaze. You crave fresh, cool air, but it is a luxury that simply does not exist within the confines of the workshop. You spend hours learning to blow the initial bubble, the fundamental starting point for almost all blown glass. It requires consistent, even breath, a delicate balance of pressure and control. Your young lungs ache, your cheeks puff out, and your head swims from the effort. Often, the bubble collapses, or bursts, or forms into an uneven, unusable shape. Lucius watches, his patience thin, his critiques sharp and unyielding. Each failed attempt adds to the pressure, the anxiety of not meeting his impossible standards. It's like being forced to blow up balloons all day, every day. But if one pops, you get a lecture and a slap. The noise of the workshop is another form of torment. The constant roaring of the furnace, the clanking of iron tools, the occasional shatter of glass, the shouts of the workmen. It's a cacophony that assaults your ears constantly. There is no quiet, no respite from the industrial din. Even in your sleep, the sounds seem to echo, a phantom symphony of your waking misery. One unique detail you are taught during this phase is the art of using wet wooden tools to shape the glass. While the blowpipe and pontil, a solid iron rod used to hold the finished piece, are metal, many of the shaping tools are made of wet wood. The steam created when the hot glass touches the damp wood provides a gentle, yet firm, way to manipulate the molten material without sticking or cooling it too rapidly. You learn to constantly dunk your wooden paddles, pincers, and blocks into buckets of water, creating clouds of steam as you work. This adds another layer of heat and humidity to the already suffocating atmosphere, turning the workshop into a kind of perpetually steaming hotbox. But it's a vital technique. Historians still debate the precise types of wood preferred by ancient glass blowers for their tools, and how frequently they needed to be replaced due to charring. The relentless pace of the work leaves you with little energy for anything else. When you finally leave the workshop at dusk, your body is utterly spent, your mind numb with exhaustion. You stumble back to your cramped insula, the cool evening air, a blessed, if fleeting, relief. Your sleep is heavy, dreamless, a desperate attempt for your body to recover, but you wake each morning feeling just as tired. The persistent cough, a grim reminder of the day that awaits. Your social life remains almost non-existent. The only people you truly interact with are your fellow apprentices and the master glass blowers, all of whom share your grim reality. There is a silent camaraderie born of shared suffering, a mutual understanding of the unbearable conditions. But there is little laughter, little joy. The sheer exhaustion of the work leaves no room for such luxuries. You often witness the frustration of older glass blowers, their faces contorted with rage when a delicate piece shatters in their hands or collapses in the glory hole. The waste of materials, the lost time, the shattered potential, it all adds to the grinding misery. You see them pick up the discarded shards, their hands trembling, knowing that every failure eats into their meager profits and adds to their crushing burden. This constant struggle for perfection in such unforgiving conditions adds another layer of anxiety to your already miserable existence. The threat of fire is ever present. The furnace, always roaring, always consuming charcoal, is a constant danger. You learn the protocols for dealing with runaway flames, for extinguishing small blazes that erupt from stray sparks. You are taught how to move quickly, to clear pathways, to act decisively in an emergency. The fear of a catastrophic fire, of the entire workshop going up in flames, consuming years of work and possibly lives, is a terrifying reality that hangs over you like a Damocles sword. As you gain more skill, Lucius allows you to attempt more complex forms, small vials for perfumes, simple drinking vessels, perhaps even rudimentary window panes. Each successful piece brings a fleeting moment of satisfaction, a brief spark of pride that quickly fades back into the overwhelming drudgery. You learn that beauty and artistry are born from immense suffering, from the relentless embrace of the furnace's heat, and that your life is merely a tool for their creation. The terrible reality of being a glassblower in ancient Rome is that you are chained to the very fire that both creates beauty and slowly consumes your life, day by miserable day. The relentless heat of the furnace, a constant companion since your earliest memories, is slowly but surely extracting a terrible toll. You are deeper into your apprenticeship, a young man now, strong from the physical demands of the workshop, but increasingly burdened by a pervasive, insidious enemy, the very air you breathe. This isn't just about feeling tired, it's about a constant, rattling cough, a tightness in your chest, and the terrifying realization that you are coughing up gold dust, literally in the form of your health and vitality, for the ephemeral beauty of glass. The daily reality of being a glassblower in ancient Rome is a slow, miserable decline into industrial disease. The workshop, despite its open doorways, remains a suffocating environment. The primary furnace roars tirelessly, consuming vast quantities of wood and charcoal. Its smoke, laden with fine ash and tiny, almost invisible particles of silica from the melting sand, fills the air. You inhale it with every breath, hour after hour, day after day. It coats your throat, irritates your lungs, and slowly, inexorably, begins to damage the very organs that keep you alive. Your cough, once a sporadic tickle, has become a persistent, dry hack that never truly goes away. It starts in the mornings, waking you from your restless sleep, and lingers throughout the day, a constant reminder of the insidious enemy within your own body. You see it in all the older glassblowers, your father, Lucius, and the other masters. Their coughs are deeper, wetter, often punctuated by gasping breaths. Their faces are gaunt, their eyes perpetually red-rimmed and watery, their chests rattling with a sound like dry leaves caught in a strong wind. This popular historical fact of ancient glassblowers suffering from silicosis and other respiratory diseases due to prolonged exposure to silica dust and various fumes is a well-established consequence of their trade. They were essentially working in a constant, invisible cloud of toxic particulates. The chronic cough is accompanied by other symptoms. You find yourself increasingly short of breath, especially when performing strenuous tasks like stoking the furnace or manipulating a heavy gather of molten glass. Your chest feels tight, as if a heavy weight presses upon it. You experience persistent fatigue, a bone-deep weariness that even a full night's sleep cannot alleviate. Your body is strong from the work, but your internal organs are slowly failing. Ancient Roman medicine, while advanced in some areas, has no real understanding of industrial diseases like silicosis. Your cough is likely attributed to bad humors, or a chill, or simply seen as an unavoidable part of the glassblower's life. Herbal remedies might be offered, but they provide little more than temporary relief, masking the symptoms while the underlying damage continues. The despair of this situation, of your body betraying you with no hope of true cure, is a heavy emotional burden. One unique detail you observe, though you don't understand its full implications, is the way light catches the airborne dust in the workshop. When a shaft of sunlight cuts through a doorway, you can see the air teeming with millions of tiny, glittering particles, swirling like a slow-motion snowstorm. These are the silica and ash particles you are constantly inhaling, the gold dust that is slowly suffocating you. It's a beautiful, terrifying sight, a dance of death in the air you breathe. Historians still debate the extent to which ancient artisans themselves might have recognized the link between their working environment and their chronic illnesses, often relying on inferences from their attempts at rudimentary ventilation or protective measures. The daily routine in the furnace never eases. You still spend hours manipulating the blowpipe, shaping vessels, and constantly reheating pieces in the glory hole. The heat remains oppressive, exacerbating your breathing difficulties. The physical demands of the job are relentless, pushing your compromised lungs to their limits. You find yourself subconsciously taking shallower breaths, trying to minimize the irritation, but knowing it's a futile effort. The smell of the workshop also changes as you become more attuned to its dangers. Beyond the wood smoke and molten glass, you begin to detect the metallic tang of certain oxides used for coloring, copper for blues, iron for greens, manganese for purples. You know these too are airborne, adding to the toxic cocktail you inhale. The sensory details of your misery are omnipresent. You witness the decline of older glassblowers with a chilling sense of dread. Your father, once a formidable craftsman, now struggles with bouts of severe breathlessness, often having to lean against a wall, gasping for air, his face pale and clammy. His hands, once steady, sometimes tremble from the strain of his weakened lungs. You see the fear in his eyes, the quiet resignation as he watches his own body betray him. It's a stark preview of your own inevitable future, a grim mirror reflecting your likely demise. The anxiety of facing such a slow, agonizing decline, of watching your own life drain away, is a constant weight. The pressure for perfection from Lucius, your master, doesn't diminish. He is oblivious to your internal struggles, demanding the same flawless execution, the same unwavering focus. Any mistake, any piece that shatters or deforms due to your physical exhaustion or a momentary coughing fit is met with the usual sharp reprimand and the threat of the whip. You learn to hide your symptoms as best you can, to push through the coughing fits, to mask the fatigue, for fear of being deemed weak or unproductive. Your sleep is no longer just restless. It's often interrupted by violent coughing spells, leaving you breathless and aching. You wake in the darkness, chest tight, lungs burning, the taste of ash in your mouth. You learn to lean out of your cramped window, gasping for the slightly cooler, less dusty night air, finding a fleeting, desperate relief. The thought of a full, unrestricted breath becomes a precious, unattainable luxury. The knowledge that your work, which produces beautiful, transparent objects, is simultaneously slowly turning your own lungs into opaque, hardened tissue, is a profound and cruel irony. You create beauty, but at the cost of your very breath. You see the finished vessels gleaming in the sunlight, and you know the price paid in sweat, in pain, and in the unseen toll on your body. Even when you are outside the workshop, perhaps running an errand in the bustling streets of Rome, the cough follows you. It marks you, a grim identifier of your trade. Other artisans, merchants, and common folk might give you a wide berth, recognizing the signs of the glassblower's cough, a common ailment in your quarter. You are literally defined by your disease, a walking testament to the grim realities of Roman industrial labor. As you near the end of your apprenticeship, your skills as a glassblower have grown immensely. You can gather the glass with expert precision, inflate it into graceful forms, and manipulate it with the dexterity of a true master. But this mastery comes at a terrible cost. Your body, while strong on the surface, is a slowly failing machine. You are a walking testament to the miserable life of a glassblower in ancient Rome, defined not just by the beautiful objects you create, but by the debilitating illness that slowly, inevitably, claims your very breath, and you know, with chilling certainty, that this is the price you will pay until your dying day. The relentless heat of the furnace, a constant companion, continues its slow, insidious work, eroding your health with every breath. But beyond the physical toll, a different kind of misery permeates the workshop, a chilling undercurrent that separates those who toil freely from those who toil in chains. You are acutely aware of the enslaved glassblowers who share your space, their suffering a stark reminder of the arbitrary cruelty of Roman society. You witness daily a slave's shard of hope, often a fleeting, fragile glimmer, quickly extinguished by the brutal reality of their bondage. The workshop is a microcosm of Roman society, a rigid hierarchy where status is everything. Your master, Lucius, a free Roman citizen, holds absolute power over his apprentices and any enslaved workers he might own or rent. You, as a freeborn apprentice, endure hardship, but you at least possess the distant hope of eventual mastery, of owning your own tools, perhaps even your own furnace. The enslaved glassblowers have no such hope. Their lives are not their own. Their bodies, their skills, their very existence are property. You observe them constantly, their faces perpetually grimed with ash and sweat, their eyes often hollow with a deep weariness that goes beyond physical exhaustion. They are not merely fellow laborers, they are possessions. They are often chained at night, their movements restricted even within the workshop to prevent escape. Their food rations are even more meager than yours, their clothing coarser, their living conditions more squalid. This popular historical fact of widespread slavery in ancient Rome and its pervasive influence on every industry meant that many skilled laborers, including glassblowers, were enslaved, enduring brutal conditions. The punishments for enslaved glassblowers are far more severe than for free apprentices. A broken piece of glass, a moment of clumsiness, a perceived act of defiance, any infraction can lead to brutal beatings, often with whips or heavy sticks. You witness these floggings, the raw screams cut short, the desperate pleas that go unanswered. The sight is sickening, yet you learn to suppress any outward reaction, to remain impassive, lest you draw unwanted attention to yourself. The anxiety of witnessing such casual brutality, of knowing you are powerless to intervene, gnaws at your conscience. Their shard of hope, you realize, is often found in the most minute acts of kindness or fleeting moments of self-expression. Perhaps a slave, against all odds, manages to craft a truly beautiful piece of glass, one that even Lucius grudgingly acknowledges for its artistry. In that brief moment, you see a flicker of pride in their eyes, a glimpse of the human spirit refusing to be entirely crushed by bondage. But the satisfaction is short-lived. The piece is immediately taken, sold, and the slave returns to the endless, unrewarded toil. The beauty they create is not theirs. It belongs to their master. It's like watching someone build a magnificent sandcastle, only for the tide to immediately wash it away. One unique detail you come to understand is the particular skill and knowledge that enslaved glassblowers often possessed. Many were likely captured artisans from the Hellenistic East, where glass blowing had originated. They brought with them centuries of accumulated knowledge, techniques, and artistic flair. Yet, despite their invaluable skills, they remained enslaved, their expertise exploited for the profit of their Roman masters. This created a peculiar dynamic. Masters were reliant on their slaves' skills, yet they held absolute power over them. Historians still debate the specific origins and social mobility, or lack thereof, of enslaved artisans in the Roman Empire, and how their specialized skills impacted their treatment. You see glimpses of their quiet resistance. A slave might subtly sabotage a batch of glass, just enough to make it flawed, but not enough to be easily detected. Or they might subtly slow down their work when Lucius isn't directly observing, saving a tiny bit of their energy. Sometimes they communicate in hushed whispers, using dialects or codes unknown to their Roman masters, sharing news, frustrations, or even plans for a fleeting escape. You learn to recognize these subtle acts, understanding them as desperate assertions of humanity in the face of dehumanizing oppression. The anxiety of being a passive observer, of knowing these quiet acts could lead to brutal repercussions, is a constant weight. The pervasive dust in the workshop, which is slowly destroying your lungs, is even more deadly for the enslaved glassblowers. Weakened by poor diet and constant overwork, they are more susceptible to illness. You witness them struggling with chronic coughs, with bouts of fever, their bodies slowly succumbing to the toxic environment. Lucius often shows little concern, seeing them as expendable tools. If a slave becomes too ill to work effectively, they are simply replaced, often sold off to another, even harsher form of labor, or left to die. The chilling disregard for human life is a stark reality that constantly surrounds you. You learn that some enslaved glassblowers held a fragile shard of hope, of eventual manumission, gaining freedom. This often required years, even decades, of loyal service, or accumulating enough meager earnings if allowed to purchase their freedom. But for most, this was a distant dream, an almost impossible aspiration. The majority lived and died in chains, their bodies broken by the relentless labor and the suffocating heat of the furnace. The anxiety of imagining such a hopeless existence, of being stripped of all agency, deepens your own understanding of the precious, even if limited, freedom you possess. Your interactions with the enslaved glassblowers are complex. You are both bound by the common misery of the trade, sharing the heat, the dust, the fatigue. There might be moments of unspoken solidarity, a shared glance of understanding when Lucius is particularly harsh, but there is always a barrier, a chasm created by the vast difference in your status. You cannot truly be friends. To do so would invite suspicion from Lucius and the Roman authorities, risking your own precarious position. The anxiety of navigating this moral tightrope, of feeling compassion but being unable to act upon it, is a constant burden. You witness families torn apart. An enslaved glassblower's children might be sold off to different masters, never to be seen again. Wives separated from husbands. This brutal disregard for familial bonds underscores the complete lack of rights for enslaved individuals. The profound sorrow of these partings echoes through the workshop, a quiet lament that only those who truly listen can hear. The sheer volume of work demanded from the enslaved glassblowers is relentless. They work longer hours, often through the night, fueled by meager rations and the threat of the whip. They produce vast quantities of glass goods, bottles, jars, window panes, even intricate decorative pieces, all destined for the markets of Rome and beyond, enriching their masters while they remain in abject poverty. The contrast between the beautiful, often luxurious, objects they create and the miserable, brutal reality of their lives is a profound, constant irony. One particularly grueling day, A young enslaved glassblower, barely older than you, collapses at the furnace, his body racked by a violent coughing fit. He is too weak to rise, his breath coming in ragged gasps. Lucius, his face grim, approaches him, not with concern, but with a cold, calculating gaze. He barks orders to other slaves to drag him away, to replace him with another. You watch, horrified, as the young man is hauled out of the workshop, knowing he is likely being sent to a quick, miserable death, or to an even harsher fate. You instinctively flinch, and Lucius's sharp eyes catch your subtle reaction. He gives you a chilling glare, a silent warning to suppress your empathy, to harden your heart. The anxiety of having displayed a forbidden emotion, of showing a human weakness in this brutal environment, sends a shiver down your spine. This constant exposure to the utter misery of enslaved glassblowers, this daily witnessing of their suffering and the casual cruelty they face, deepens your own understanding of your precarious position. You may be freeborn, but you are still a laborer, tied to a dangerous and debilitating trade. The shard of hope for a better life for them is almost non-existent. For you, it is simply a less painful path towards the same inevitable physical decline. The terrible reality of being a glassblower in ancient Rome is not just about the heat and the dust, but about the profound, dehumanizing social structures that define every breath you take, whether free or enslaved, and the constant anxiety of that inescapable misery for yourself and for those around you is a burden that never truly lifts. The searing heat of the furnace, the relentless cough, the pervasive misery of the enslaved laborers, these form the oppressive backdrop of your daily grind. You are a young man now, skilled but weary, and the brutal reality of being a glassblower in ancient Rome is that your very livelihood, your ability to put a meager meal on your family's table, hinges entirely on the unpredictable desires and fleeting whims of the Roman elite. You live under the ever-present shadow of the whim of the patrician, a precarious existence where your fate can change in an instant for good or ill. Your master, Lucius, for all his harshness, is himself beholden to these powerful patrons. He does not own the raw materials, nor does he truly control his market. His workshop, like many others in the Vicus Vitrarius, survives on commissions from wealthy Roman citizens, senators, equestrians, powerful merchants, and even the occasional imperial household. These are the patricians, the aristocrats, men and women of immense wealth and often equally immense caprice. You observe their visits to the workshop with a mix of awe and trepidation. They arrive in elegant litters, borne by sweating slaves, or on horseback, their silk robes and gleaming jewelry a stark contrast to the grime and sweat of your world. They do not enter the main workshop often, preferring to consult with Lucius in a small, slightly cleaner antechamber, where finished pieces are displayed on dusty shelves. You hear their voices, imperious and demanding, even when lowered, their Latin crisp and refined, utterly alien to the rough dialect you speak among yourselves. The demand for glass is constant, fueled by Rome's love for luxury and display. Patricians use glass for drinking vessels, for intricate perfume bottles, for delicate serving dishes, even for rudimentary window panes in their lavish villas. They demand specific colors, intricate designs, and flawless execution. Lucius bows and scrapes, promising perfection, knowing that a single unsatisfactory piece, a single delay, could mean the loss of a valuable patron, and thus the loss of income for his workshop and starvation for his apprentices and slaves. This popular historical fact of the Roman elite's insatiable demand for luxury goods, including fine glass, created both opportunity and immense pressure for artisans. Or you learn that pleasing these patrons isn't just about crafting a beautiful piece. It's about understanding their unspoken desires, anticipating their whims, even tolerating their eccentricities. A senator might suddenly demand a vase shaped like a specific mythological creature, or a matron might insist on a particular shade of blue that is notoriously difficult to achieve. Lucius, despite his gruff exterior, transforms into a fawning, obsequious figure in their presence, his very livelihood dependent on their favor. The anxiety of meeting these constantly shifting demands, of trying to read the unreadable minds of the elite, is immense. One unique detail you quickly learn is the patricians' obsession with perfectly clear glass. While colored glass was popular, truly clear, transparent glass was considered a mark of supreme skill and luxury, mimicking rock crystal. Achieving this required incredibly pure silica sand and precise firing techniques, making it challenging and expensive. A single streak of impurity, a subtle bubble, or a faint discoloration could render a piece, otherwise perfectly formed, utterly worthless in the eyes of a demanding patron. You spend countless hours trying to achieve this elusive clarity, your eyes straining, your breath held, knowing that even a tiny flaw could lead to a piece being rejected, or worse, smashed in frustration by a patrician. It's like trying to sculpt ice that instantly melts if you make a mistake, and your life depends on it. Historians still debate the specific techniques Roman glassblowers used to achieve exceptional clarity and how widespread these methods were across different workshops. You witness the consequences of their whims firsthand. A patrician might order a dozen identical drinking cups, then, upon delivery, decide they prefer a slightly different shape or a different color, rendering the entire batch useless. Lucius, powerless to argue, must swallow his frustration, knowing the wasted effort and material will come directly out of his already meager profits. You are forced to melt down the perfectly good, but now unwanted, glass, the heat of the furnace reflecting the simmering anger in your own heart. It's a profound waste, a testament to the capricious nature of wealth. The system of patronage means that payment is rarely immediate. Patricians often pay in installments, or after several months, or sometimes not at all if they deem the work unsatisfactory, even for arbitrary reasons. This creates immense financial insecurity for Lucius, which in turn trickles down to you. Your already meager rations might be cut further, your working hours extended, all to make up for the lost income. The anxiety of not knowing when or if you will be paid for your grueling labor is a constant worry, a tightening knot in your stomach. You hear stories, whispered among the older glassblowers, of workshops driven to ruin by a tyrannical patron, of craftsmen enslaved or imprisoned for failing to meet impossible demands, or for inadvertently offending a powerful noble. These cautionary tales are not just stories. They are grim warnings of the consequences of displeasing the elite, reminders of the precariousness of your position. The thought of being indebted to a powerful patrician, of falling under their absolute control, fills you with dread. The social distance between you and the patricians is immense. They are beings from a different world, untouchable, powerful, their lives filled with luxury and leisure, while yours is a constant struggle for survival. You serve them, you create beauty for them, but you are utterly invisible to them as individuals. You are merely a tool, a means to an end. This dehumanization, this erasure of your own personhood, is a subtle but profound misery. Sometimes, a patrician might condescend to enter the main workshop, drawn by curiosity or a desire to show off to their companions. They will gaze at the roaring furnace with a detached fascination, perhaps offering a casual, often ill-informed, comment on the process. They ignore the oppressive heat, the swirling dust, the grim faces of the workers, seeing only the exotic spectacle. You, covered in sweat and grime, must remain silent, respectful, your eyes downcast, a mere part of the scenery. The indignity of this casual disregard is a bitter pill to swallow. The competition among glassblowers is fierce, driven by the limited number of wealthy patrons. Workshops constantly vie for commissions, sometimes resorting to undercutting prices or even sabotaging rivals. This adds another layer of anxiety to your life, knowing that even your skill is not enough. You must also contend with the cutthroat realities of the marketplace, always at the mercy of the powerful few. You also learn that patricians often demand exclusivity. If a certain senator commissions a unique design, they expect that design not to be replicated for anyone else, especially not for a rival noble. This limits Lucius's ability to maximize profit and puts immense pressure on you to maintain strict secrecy about client commissions. A breach of this trust, an accidental slip, could lead to severe repercussions for the entire workshop. The only hope you have in this system is to become so exceptionally skilled, so uniquely talented, that a patrician might take special notice of you, perhaps even offer to buy your freedom or sponsor your own small workshop. These stories are rare, almost mythical, whispered among the apprentices like ancient legends. It's a shard of hope, so fragile, so distant, that it barely alleviates the crushing reality of your daily toil. You cling to it, however, for it is one of the few avenues for escape from this miserable life. You continue to toil by the furnace, your body aching, your lungs burning, your spirit weighed down by the constant struggle for survival and the crushing power of the elite. You blow, you shape, you sweat, creating beautiful objects that you will never truly own, for masters who will never truly see you. The terrible reality of being a glassblower in ancient Rome is a life of perpetual servitude, not to a specific master, but to the unpredictable, demanding, and often cruel whims of the powerful patrician class. And you know, with grim certainty, that this endless cycle of toil and subservience is your destiny until your body finally gives out. The glowing maw of the furnace, a constant, oppressive presence, continues to demand your absolute focus. Your hands move with the practiced grace of a seasoned craftsman, shaping the molten glass with astonishing dexterity. Yet, every single day, you grapple with a profound, soul-crushing reality, the relentless pressure for perfection. Every breath, every delicate movement, every subtle adjustment of the blowpipe is a gamble, and the consequences of failure are immediate, visible, and deeply demoralizing. You witness the constant destruction of shattered dreams and broken glass, a brutal cycle of creation and waste that defines your miserable life as a glassblower in ancient Rome. Lucius, your master, is an unforgiving judge. His eyes, perpetually red-rimmed from the furnace's glare, miss nothing. He expects every piece to be flawless, every curve exact, every surface without blemish. The demand for perfection is absolute, driven by the exacting tastes of the patrician patrons and the cutthroat competition within the vicus vitrarius. There is no room for error, no allowance for the oppressive heat, the swirling dust, or the sheer physical exhaustion that constantly plagues you. You learn that even a microscopic bubble, a faint streak of discoloration, or a barely perceptible distortion in the shape can render a piece utterly worthless in the eyes of a discerning buyer. You spend hours, sometimes entire days, working on a single complex vessel, a delicate wine carafe, an intricately decorated perfume flask, or a shimmering mosaic panel. You carefully gather the molten glass, inflate it with precise breaths, and manipulate it with wet wooden tools, coaxing it into the desired form. You reheat it in the glory hole, again and again, ensuring it remains pliable. The process is a ballet of skill, timing, and relentless focus. And then, in a single, agonizing moment, it shatters. Perhaps a sudden chill in the air caused it to crack during cooling, or a hairline fracture formed during shaping, or a tiny impurity in the glass caused it to explode during reheating. The sound is sharp, distinct, a sudden violent punctuation to hours of painstaking labor. The pieces scatter across the dusty floor, glittering like cruel jewels, each shard a fragment of your effort, your skill, and your dwindling hope. Lucius's reaction is immediate and brutal. He doesn't waste time with comforting words. His face contorts with a grimace of fury, his hand often reaching for the nearest wooden stick or the ever-present whip. The blows are sharp, stinging, aimed at your hands, your back, or even your face. The pain is intense, but the deeper wound is the humiliation, the crushing weight of having failed, of having wasted precious, expensive materials and countless hours of labor. You learn to absorb the physical pain silently, but the psychological pain, the shame of imperfection, lingers long after the welts subside. This popular historical fact of the brutal working conditions and physical punishments in Roman workshops, particularly for apprentices and slaves, highlights the harsh realities of their industrial labor. The discarded glass, known as cullet, is swept up by younger apprentices and slaves, ready to be remelted in the furnace. It's a cruel irony the perfect product of your skill transforms back into raw material, only to be subjected to the same grueling process all over again. You watch the shards being collected, their once beautiful forms now broken and useless, and you feel a profound sense of despair. Your life is an endless cycle of creating and destroying, of striving for perfection only to see it shatter. The economic pressure intensifies this misery. Every failed piece represents lost time and lost profit for Lucius. This translates directly into harsher conditions for you, longer hours, even less food, and more frequent, more intense punishments. You are pushed to work faster, to be more efficient, to produce more flawless pieces, all while battling exhaustion, hunger, and the constant irritation in your lungs, the anxiety of meeting quotas, of avoiding financial ruin for the workshop, becomes another heavy burden you carry. One unique detail you are always mindful of is the specific demands for certain glass forms for Roman burial rituals. Wealthy Romans often commissioned elaborate glass urns or commemorative vessels to hold the ashes of their deceased. These pieces had to be perfect, free of flaws, and often incorporated intricate designs or symbolic motifs. The pressure to create a flawless piece for such a solemn, important purpose was immense, as a mistake could be seen as an ill omen or a disrespectful act towards the dead. This spiritual weight added another layer of anxiety to your daily work. Imagine being told that a single bubble in your latest creation could offend the ancestors of a powerful family. Historians still debate the precise ritualistic significance of specific glass forms in Roman funerary practices and the symbolic meanings attributed to their perfection or flaws. You witness other glass blowers, older and more experienced than you, succumbing to this relentless pressure. Some become withdrawn, their faces permanently etched with a grim resignation. Others break down in fits of rage, smashing their own flawed creations in frustration, then facing Lucius's equally furious backlash. A few simply vanish, unable to endure the conditions any longer, risking the dangers of life outside the workshop rather than face another day by the furnace. You wonder, sometimes, about their fate, about the true cost of their escape. The constant need for precision, combined with the debilitating effects of the dust, creates a terrifying paradox. Your hands, though nimble, sometimes tremble from fatigue. Your cough can cause a sudden, uncontrollable spasm, leading to a crucial misstep. You fight your own body, trying to force it to comply with the impossible demands for perfection, even as it slowly betrays you. The anxiety of your body's inevitable decline of its inability to sustain the demands of the craft is a constant, quiet dread. The fleeting beauty of a perfectly executed piece is your only occasional reward. When a goblet emerges from the annealing oven, shimmering with flawless clarity, its curves perfectly balanced, its surface gleaming, in that brief moment, you feel a surge of pride, a quiet satisfaction that transcends the misery. You stand back, watching Lucius inspect it, and if he offers a rare, almost imperceptible nod of approval, that fleeting acknowledgement is a precious balm to your tormented spirit. But the moment passes quickly. The piece is immediately packed for delivery to the patrician, and you return to the roaring furnace, to the piles of raw materials, to the relentless cycle of creation and destruction. You understand, with chilling clarity, that your life is a constant battle against entropy, against the inherent fragility of glass and the unforgiving nature of fire. You are an instrument, a tool in Lucius's hands, creating objects of beauty for others, while your own life is slowly consumed by the very process. The terrible reality of being a glassblower in ancient Rome is a life of perpetual striving for an unattainable perfection, a life where shattered dreams are a daily occurrence, and your own well-being is sacrificed on the altar of a demanding, unfeeling craft. And you know, with grim certainty, that this cycle will continue until your hands are too weak to hold the blowpipe, and your lungs too choked to draw another breath. The heat of the furnace, the persistent cough, the endless pursuit of flawless glass, these miseries are your constants. Yet, there are fleeting moments when the brutal reality of your life as a glassblower in ancient Rome is momentarily overshadowed by a different kind of sensation, the brief, profound satisfaction of seeing your creations move beyond the workshop. This is the glow of a market stall, a tantalizing glimpse of your arduous labor culminating in a tangible product, only for the relentless grind of production to pull you back into its suffocating embrace. You are now a seasoned glassblower, perhaps even managing a small team of younger apprentices and slaves under Lucius's watchful eye. Your skill is undeniable, your efficiency honed by years of tireless effort. You can coax molten glass into intricate forms with an almost intuitive grace, your breath steady, your hands precise. You are a true craftsman, capable of creating objects of fragile beauty that will grace the tables and homes of Rome's elite. Your creations, once completed and annealed, are carefully packed and taken from the workshop to the bustling markets of Rome. You don't often go yourself. That task falls to Lucius or his trusted agents. But on rare occasions, when a large or particularly delicate order is being delivered, or when Lucius is short-staffed, you might be granted the brief opportunity to accompany the wares to the market stall. The journey from the cramped, dusty workshop to the vibrant market is a jarring sensory shift. The air, though still filled with the smells of the city, is cooler, less acrid. The sounds are different. The clamor of merchants hawking their goods, the chatter of customers, the distant rumble of carts. It's a world of vibrant colors, bustling crowds, and endless motion, a stark contrast to the stifling monotony of the furnace. You stand by the market stall, a small, unassuming space draped with rough cloth, displaying your workshop's finest pieces. The morning sun catches the glass, making it shimmer with a dazzling array of colors, the deep blues of Egyptian natron, the rich greens from copper oxides, the subtle purples from manganese. The light plays across the smooth surfaces of carafes, the delicate curves of perfume bottles, the intricate patterns of mosaic tiles. These are your creations, born from your sweat, your pain, your endless hours by the fire. You watch the customers approach, Wealthy Roman matrons, their hair elaborately styled, their silk robes rustling, finger the delicate vessels with discerning eyes. Patrician men, their faces etched with the burdens of power, examine the sturdier drinking cups. Common citizens, saving their meager coins, marvel at the more affordable pieces, perhaps a simple jar or a small, colored bead. You hear their comments, their exclamations of delight at the beauty and clarity of the glass. Such exquisite craftsmanship, they might say. Or, look how the light catches the blue. In these fleeting moments, a surge of pride washes over you, a quiet satisfaction that transcends the misery of your daily toil. You see the tangible result of your brutal labor, appreciated for its artistry and its utility. It's a validation, a brief, precious acknowledgement that your relentless suffering by the furnace produces something truly beautiful and desired. This popular historical fact of the Roman market's vibrancy and the consumer demand for crafted goods offered a rare opportunity for artisans to witness the appreciation for their work, even if only from a distance. But the satisfaction is always fleeting. The customers do not see you. They see the glass. They do not see the heat, the dust, the cough, the scars. They do not see the hours of relentless labor, the countless shattered pieces, the agonizing pursuit of perfection. You are an invisible hand, a nameless artisan, whose misery fuels their luxury. Your identity remains tied to the workshop, not to the gleaming objects you create. Lucius, ever the pragmatic businessman, quickly brings you back to reality. Enough gawking. Boy, he might bark, or help that customer, but don't say too much. Your breath smells of furnace ash, not perfume. He's focused on sales, on profit, on securing the next commission. For him, the market stall is a means to an end, a necessity for survival, not a place for artistic appreciation. The anxiety of meeting sales targets, of proving the value of your labor, quickly replaces any fleeting pride. You learn the subtle art of the salesman, of subtly influencing a customer's choice without overtly speaking. You learn to arrange the pieces to maximize their appeal, to ensure the best light catches their facets, to make them irresistible. You learn the market price of different types of glass, the going rate for intricate designs versus simple forms. This is a different kind of skill, a commercial one, necessary for the survival of the workshop, and by extension, your own livelihood. One unique detail you observe during these market visits is the Roman fascination with glass gems or imitations of precious stones. While genuine gems were highly valued, skilled glassblowers could create incredibly convincing imitations, often in vibrant colors, which were popular for jewelry, mosaics, and decorative inlays. You might see a wealthy matron admiring a necklace made of brilliantly colored glass beads, mistaking them for genuine sapphires or emeralds. This deception, this illusion of value created by your skill, is another strange irony of your profession. You create beauty that deceives, and you are trapped in a reality that is anything but beautiful. Historians still debate the extent to which Roman glassmakers deliberately created fakes versus merely providing affordable alternatives to genuine gems, and how transparent this was to the consumer. The competition in the market is fierce. Other glassblowers from nearby workshops display their wares on adjacent stalls. You glance at their pieces, assessing their quality, their designs, their pricing. You see the same weary eyes, the same calloused hands, the same persistent coughs among the rival artisans. You are all bound by the same miserable trade, vying for the same fickle patrons. The anxiety of being outcompeted, of losing commissions, is a constant worry. Sometimes, a patrician might approach the stall and demand a custom piece, something unique and elaborate. Lucius will haggle over the price, but ultimately accept, knowing that such a commission, if successful, can elevate his workshop's reputation. These special orders often mean even longer hours for you, even more precise work, even greater pressure for perfection. The fleeting joy of a successful sale quickly gives way to the renewed burden of demanding labor. The market stall is a brief, tantalizing glimpse of the world beyond the furnace. It's a reminder that the objects you create have a purpose, that they are valued, that they bring joy or utility to others, but that joy is not truly yours. As the sun begins to set, the market stalls are packed away, and you return to the workshop, to the roaring furnace, to the relentless heat and dust. The scent of finished goods is replaced by the acrid tang of ash and sweat. You return to your cramped living quarters, your body aching, your lungs rattling. The memory of the sun glinting on a finished vase, of a customer's admiring gasp, lingers for a while, a small, precious spark in the overwhelming darkness of your reality. But it's quickly extinguished by the persistent cough that racks your chest, the exhaustion that weighs down your limbs, and the cold, hard knowledge that tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that, will be exactly the same. The terrible reality of being a glassblower in ancient Rome is a life of endless, miserable toil, where the fleeting glow of a market stall is a brief, tantalizing illusion in a world of constant, unforgiving fire. Your life is defined by its consumption, your health traded for the fragile beauty of glass. The persistent cough, a dry, rattling presence in your chest, is now a constant, unwelcome companion, deepening with each passing year. Your hands, once so nimble and precise, now sometimes tremble, betraying the toll of endless hours spent by the searing furnace. You are no longer the young apprentice, nor the vigorous craftsman. You are an elder glass blower, and the terrible reality of your life in ancient Rome now crystallizes into the inevitable decline, an old man's frail hands, a body slowly succumbing to the cumulative miseries of your brutal trade. The furnace, once a beast to be tamed, now feels like a relentless, consuming entity. Its heat, which once hardened your spirit, now exacerbates the aches in your joints and makes your breathing even more laborious. The air, thick with dust and ash, continues its insidious work, turning your lungs into hardened, inefficient organs. Your vision, perpetually strained by the glare of molten glass, has begun to dim, making the delicate work of shaping even more challenging. The anxiety of your body's slow betrayal, of losing the very skills that define your existence, is a profound and demoralizing burden. You spend more time now on the periphery of the workshop, directing younger apprentices and slaves, supervising the preparation of materials, ensuring the furnace is properly stoked. Your direct involvement in the blowing process becomes less frequent, reserved for the simplest forms or for demonstrating a technique to a struggling apprentice. You watch the younger generation, their faces grimed with sweat and ash, their movements quick and strong, and you see a reflection of your past self, a poignant reminder of the vitality you once possessed. This popular historical fact of aging artisans passing on their knowledge while their physical capabilities decline is a universal truth, but for a Roman glassblower, it meant a grim transition into reduced capacity and often reduced income. Lucius, your master, is an old man himself now, his cough deeper, his gait slower. He observes your decline with a grim, knowing look, recognizing the inevitable path. He might rely on your experience and wisdom for guiding the workshop, but his expectations for your physical output diminish. This can be both a relief and a source of quiet frustration. You are spared some of the most grueling labor, but you yearn for the days when your hands could still conjure beauty from molten glass with effortless grace. The younger apprentices and slaves, while respectful of your experience, also sense your fading strength. Their movements around you might be less cautious, their voices a little louder. You are no longer the formidable craftsman. You are the wizened elder, a living testament to the brutal cost of the trade. This subtle shift in their perception, this quiet acknowledgement of your physical decline, is a constant, humbling reality. Your cough has become almost constant, punctuated by bouts of severe breathlessness that leave you gasping for air. You spend restless nights leaning out of your cramped apartment window, desperately seeking cooler, cleaner air, finding little relief. The constant fatigue is bone deep, a perpetual exhaustion that even the longest sleep cannot alleviate. You crave warmth, but your body struggles to regulate its own temperature. A cruel irony for someone who spent a lifetime by fire. One unique detail that becomes particularly poignant in your old age is the cumulative effect of micro-injuries. Beyond the major burns and cuts, a glassblower's hands were constantly exposed to tiny shards of glass, fine dust, and repetitive strain. Over decades, these small injuries, infections, and the lack of proper medical care lead to chronic pain, stiff joints, and a loss of fine motor control. Your fingers, once so adept at shaping delicate forms, are now gnarled and often painful, making even simple tasks a struggle. It's like having chronic arthritis, but every joint reminds you of a specific piece you created. Historians still debate the specific long-term musculoskeletal and dermatological conditions prevalent among ancient glassworkers, given the physical demands and lack of protective gear. You witness, with a deep sense of sorrow, the passing of your contemporaries, other glassblowers, older than you or of a similar age, whose bodies finally succumbed to the relentless dust and heat. Their workshops close, their families scatter, and their names quickly fade from memory. Each death is a chilling reminder of your own impending fate, a clear vision of the brutal reality of your profession. You are living on borrowed time, each breath a gift, each day a testament to your stubborn endurance. The financial anxieties intensify in your old age. Your reduced output means a reduced share of the workshop's meager profits. You rely more heavily on your family, on your adult children if you have them, or on the grudging generosity of Lucius. The fear of destitution, of being unable to support yourself in your final years, is a constant worry, a cruel indignity for someone who has toiled so relentlessly for decades. You find solace in the memories of the beautiful pieces you created, the brief moments of artistry that transcended the drudgery. You might trace the imaginary curves of a goblet in the air, your frail fingers still remembering the delicate dance with molten glass. You might recall the satisfaction of seeing a perfectly clear vessel emerge from the annealing oven, a rare triumph in a life of constant struggle. These memories are precious, your only true legacy. The world outside the workshop continues to change. Emperors rise and fall, wars rage in distant provinces, and new technologies emerge. But within the Vicus Vitrarius, the rhythm of life remains largely the same: the roaring furnace, the swirling dust, the endless toil. You are a living fossil, a testament to an unchanging reality, a remnant of an earlier, harsher time. Your days become shorter, punctuated by longer rests, by bouts of breathlessness, by the quiet struggle to simply exist. You retire to your cramped insula earlier, seeking the fleeting comfort of your rough bed. Your sleep is often broken, not just by the cough, but by dreams of the furnace, its fiery maw consuming you, or dreams of the perfect peace, forever just beyond your grasp. The final days are a blur of pain and profound fatigue. Your body, utterly spent, begins its final surrender. The roar of the furnace, once so oppressive, becomes a distant, muffled hum. The light of the molten glass, once so blinding, fades into a soft, hazy glow, your lungs, ravaged by decades of dust, finally cease their struggle. You have served your purpose. You have created beauty from fire and sand at the cost of your very breath, your very life. The terrible reality of being a glassblower in ancient Rome is a life of unending physical misery, a slow, agonizing decline into industrial disease, and a quiet, unheralded death. Your hands, once capable of such exquisite artistry, become frail, then still, a testament to a life consumed by the very craft it mastered. Your legacy is not in grand monuments or epic tales, but in the countless shimmering shards of glass scattered across the Roman world, each one a silent echo of a miserable life, tirelessly given to the relentless demands of the furnace. The years in Sparta have etched themselves into your very bones, shaped your muscles, and hardened your spirit into an unyielding instrument. You are no longer merely a boy who survived the agage. You are a full-fledged Spartan homoios, a peer among equals, a living testament to the brutal, relentless system that forged you. The physical aches and the persistent cough are your constant companions. The scars on your body a map of a childhood utterly consumed by the state. Yet, within this hardened exterior, there resides a profound understanding of what it means to be Spartan, and you now grasp the enduring legacy of iron, the terrifying yet undeniable impact of your harsh schooling. By the age of 30, you have left the barracks and established your own household, though the communal rhythm of the syssitia, the mess hall, remains a cornerstone of your daily life. You still eat with your fellow Spartans, discussing strategy, politics, and the endless pursuit of martial excellence. Your marriage, arranged for the procreation of future warriors, sees your wife living mostly in her own separate quarters, raising your children with the same austere discipline your own mother instilled in you. This popular historical fact of the unique Spartan marriage and living arrangements, where men lived in barracks until age 30 and continued communal meals, highlights their unparalleled dedication to military life over domesticity. Your children, if they are boys, will face the same brutal judgment at birth, and then, at age 7, they too will be taken to the agage. You watch them go, a complex mix of stoic pride and a quiet, almost imperceptible ache in your heart. You know the hardships they will face, the pain they will endure, the individual selves they will be forced to shed. But you also know the absolute necessity of it for the survival of Sparta. You are a product of the system, and now you are its perpetuator. The anxiety of seeing your own flesh and blood subjected to the same crucible is a grim, familiar burden. Your role in Spartan society is now one of active participation in the state's military and political life. You serve in the Spartan army, the formidable phalanx, undergoing constant drills and exercises, maintaining your physical peak. You participate in the assembly, where you vote on matters of war and peace, your voice laconic but firm. You might even serve as an ephor, one of the powerful magistrates, holding ultimate authority over the agage and the general populace. This places you at the very heart of the system that created you, wielding the power that once shaped your own life. The helots, the enslaved population, remain the foundation of Spartan society, their labor enabling your military focus. The cryptia, that dark, secret arm of control, continues its operations. You, having survived its chilling initiation, are fully aware of its purpose and its methods. You understand the brutal necessity of maintaining fear among the helots to prevent revolt, even if the memory of your own act of mercy in the cryptia lingers like a ghost in your mind. This unique detail of the cryptia's continued operation, even as you become an established Spartan, underscores the pervasive nature of state control and the constant, underlying fear of helot rebellion that permeated all levels of Spartan society. It's like living in a society built on a perpetually rumbling volcano. Historians still debate the specific operational methods and frequency of the cryptia throughout Spartan history, and whether it was a continuous institution or used only in times of heightened threat. You are a living embodiment of the Spartan ideal: unyielding discipline, unwavering obedience, and absolute loyalty to the state. Your life is devoid of personal luxury, of private wealth, of individual expression. Your food is simple, your clothing basic, your home austere. Your true wealth lies in your honor, your reputation as a warrior, and your contribution to Sparta's military might. The anxiety of maintaining this ideal, of never showing weakness, of always living up to the impossible standard, is a lifelong commitment. As you age, your body, though still formidable, begins to slow. The scars of countless drills and the faint ache in your lungs from years of hard training become more pronounced. You might be assigned less physically demanding duties, perhaps training younger boys in the agage, passing on the brutal lessons that shaped you. You become a living legend to them, a testament to the unyielding path they too must walk. You gaze upon their young, determined faces, and you see the future of Sparta, a reflection of your past self. The legacy of Spartan education, the agagi, is evident in every facet of your being. You are the product of a system designed to strip away individuality and forge perfect citizen soldiers. You do not mourn the childhood you lost, for it was sacrificed for a higher purpose, the glory and survival of Sparta. You do not regret the pain you endured, for it forged your strength. You do not question the discipline, for it ensured your obedience. Your life is a testament to what a state can achieve when it dedicates itself entirely to a single, brutal, and utterly uncompromising ideal. You stand on the ancient battlefields, perhaps observing a new generation of Spartan hoplites, marching in perfect phalanx formation, their shields gleaming in the sun, their spears a bristling forest of bronze. You see the disciplined precision, the unbreakable unit cohesion, the unyielding courage, and you know, with absolute certainty, that this is the enduring legacy of your schooling, the ultimate purpose of your miserable, yet profoundly impactful life. Your story, like that of countless other Spartan citizens, will not be told in individual epic poems. It is subsumed into the greater narrative of Sparta itself, a single drop in the mighty river of its military might. But you carry the profound understanding of what that meant, what it cost, and what it truly forged. You are a Spartan, and that in itself is your entire, terrible, and ultimately triumphant reality. And so, in the cold dawns of ancient Sparta, you lived a life shaped not by choice, but by necessity. You were not a pampered child, but a tool, a weapon forged in the cruel crucible of the agage. Your life was a living testament to what a society can produce when everything is directed toward a single goal: absolute military power. You endured the ultimate physical and mental challenges: biting hunger, biting cold, relentless whipping, and constant anxiety. You learned to steal to survive, to endure pain in silence, and to eliminate all unnecessary emotion. The path to Spartan honor was paved with personal sacrifice and absolute obedience. Now, as you drift off to sleep, let the distant war cries, the clanging of weapons, and the chill of the Spartan dawn creep into your mind. Know that the story of the children shaped by the agage is a powerful reminder of the price of absolute discipline and the harsh nature of military greatness. Sleep well, and dream of a world where school lessons don't suck so much.